Hey, federal government, we've got a big problem here in Ohio, big chemical spill. A lot of people's lives are on the line. Can we have some assistance? No, you cannot. Make that next $100 billion check out to Ukraine. Okay. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. I'm glad to have you back. We love to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants. And today we've got some corruption of tyrants that we're going to explore. So, you know about the Ohio train derailment, big chemical spill, a lot of speculation. I mean, we know they're carcinogenic chemicals, but a lot of speculation about how many people will be impacted. I've heard millions. It's in the waterways. It's in the air. They set them on fire. Who would have guessed that'd go into the air? So it's a major catastrophe going on in Ohio. You know that. Breaking news is Ohio's governor, Mike DeWine, asked Biden, he's the president of the United States, most popular votes ever, by the way. That's pretty great accomplishment. Hard to believe. Asked Biden for federal assistance with this disaster. And what did President Joseph Biden say? No! Like, no, you can't have federal assistance for this disaster. Like, you need it, yeah, but it's not like Ohio's part of the U.S. Ukraine is my favorite state in the U.S. We've got to devote more money to being involved in the war in Ukraine with Russia. So no, Ohio, you can't have money. Now, this, quite honestly, it pisses me off. I can't imagine a world where there's not some weird maniacal political motive for Biden to say, no, you can't have federal assistance. Like, the federal government is literally only there to assist the people that fund the federal government. And here there's U.S. citizens in need in this big chemical disaster. And Biden says, no, you can't. You can't have it, but I'll have more ice cream right now. So, taking a quick look at some of the details of Biden's rejecting Ohio's request for federal assistance. Here on the Daily Wire, we can see this article. Biden rejects federal disaster assistance for Ohio town impacted by toxic train derailment. Third paragraph down. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, told Ohio that the Biden administration was rejecting its request for federal assistance because the agency said the incident didn't qualify. Yeah, that's the problem. Like, let it qualify. Like, they need assistance. Couple more paragraphs down. Earlier in the day, the DeWine administration put out a statement saying that the Biden administration was not cooperating with requests to help the community through federal disaster aid. Something's fishy. Maybe Ohio should just fly the Ukraine flag and it's like, now you qualify. How much do you want? 100 million? No, we're not going to do that. 100 billion. You got it. I'm a chemicalologist, so you'll want to really pay attention to what I say next. It seems to be that the specific chemical vinyl chloride is the most problematic one that was spilled in the train derailment. Vinyl chloride is described by the National Cancer Institute as a carcinogen linked to a rare form of liver cancer called hepatic angiocarcinoma. Maybe that's how you pronounce it, as well as lymphoma, leukemia, and various forms of brain and lung cancers. It doesn't sound good. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration only permits exposure of 1 part per million during an industrial worker's 8-hour shift. Kinda seems like a problem if this highly carcinogenic chemical that is very creative, it can create many different types of cancer. It's in the air, it's in the water. That's a problem. Now, there's also reports that Norfolk Southern, which is the company responsible for the train derailment, apparently they're trying to coerce people into signing some kind of agreement like, hey, you take this little bit of money or whatever, and then we're completely unliable. So just sign that. You want this now? Okay, cool. Sign this, and we're not liable for anything else legally speaking because you signed something waiving all rights to future litigation. And then I've seen people who are out crusading for the common U.S. citizen, urging citizens, don't sign anything. Don't say this. They're trying to cover their butts. They're trying to protect themselves from big-ass lawsuits, which might be rightfully coming their way. So I've appreciated hearing those people trying to warn the East Palestine residents in Ohio, don't sign anything. They're trying to get you to do it. They're trying to pressure you to do it, but it is in your best interest not to do it. And of course, some of the bigger elements of this controversy, and it's so weird that a really catastrophic disaster for the residents there, that there could be any level of controversy around it. You would just think there's all-out support and help that's being generated for the residents affected this by, of course, the Biden administration rejecting requests for federal aid, like now the controversy thickens. But a big part of the controversy is how fast residents were told to go back into their homes. So the train derails, okay, everybody's told to evacuate, and then people are told, some would speculate, way too soon, it's safe, go back into your home, safe and effective, that's what homes are, so it's safe. Trust us, it's safe, go back into your homes, nothing to see here. Please, nothing to see here. That's why the media is not covering it. We don't want anybody to see anything going on here. But then there's reports people go back into their homes and their pets are dead. Fish in the streams are dead. So it's safe. I mean, something's killing all these pets and wildlife, but it's probably safe for you, wouldn't it be? So, of course, that brings up speculation that this chemical disaster is way worse than what Norfolk Southern, as well as the federal government, are letting people believe. The chemicals are in the river going downstream, and the authorities are kind of like, not really. No, we burnt them all. So they're just in there. You're just breathing them. That's fine. But switching over here to Upward News on Instagram. I love Upward News. They've got a video you can see here, and what you see, this shining, glimmering thing, that's chemicals on one of the natural waterways around, just literally showing like, hey, here's a fact. Like, there's chemicals in the water. This stuff is around. Yet people have been told, go back into your homes, nothing to see here, it's all good. But is that really the case? And then the plot thickens. Let's put on our tinfoil hats. I've had mine surgically invented, so I'm never not wearing it. Now there's speculation, and I have to be honest, as much as I love to rail against any authoritative power that seems corrupt, as much as I love to do that, I also want to be open-minded and as honest and factual as a redhead can possibly be. So I don't know that this is true. That's why I use the term speculation deliberately. There's speculation that the rich farmland in Ohio could now be very contaminated. If that's true, what does that do to the food supply? The food supply that's already been significantly handicapped. Just over 100 food processing plants have been destroyed by mysterious fires in the past year. It's probably a coincidence, nothing to see there either. We've got egg shortages, like now eggs are worth more than gold. So with this aspect of the food supply being handicapped, just oddly enough, over 140 million egg-laying hens have been killed since October 2021. Why? Out of precaution for the avian flu. Is that true, or is that just part of a orchestration to disable the food supply? Remember, we're wearing tinfoil hats, so we're allowed to ask questions, aren't we? Then you combine that with the World Economic Forum's green agenda, which seeks to prevent farmers, big time over in the Netherlands, and they're trying it elsewhere, but seeks to prevent farmers from using fertilizers, which prevents farmers from what's called growing food. So there are a lot of dots on the destruction of the food supply map. Do these dots connect? Quite honestly, in a way, it doesn't matter because the food supply is being disseminated. But maybe the dots do connect. So some of the more tinfoil hat speculation is, could this Ohio train derailment be part of an orchestrated action in order to ruin Ohio farmland for the foreseeable future to further destroy the food supply? Why would they want to do that? Well, of course they don't want to do that, but if we let it be what it seems to be, it seems like they do for some reason. Here's what that reason could be. If you want to control people, control their food. How do you control their food? You make food a scarce commodity. And if people are dependent on you for food because they're not decentralized with their own food supply, then they are very controllable. There's a reason why in all communist regimes, there's just a coincidental famine that happens. It's like, the farmland's not working right. There's orchestrated famines that happen with communist takeovers. It's cost tens of millions of people their lives. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I'm saying it's a valid question to be curious if that's what's happening here. But if that was not happening here and there wasn't some level of orchestration to want to hurt people, cause food supply issues, then you'd think the Biden administration, which is very much a communist administration, they're far left. Far left is synonymous with communism. So if that wasn't happening, you'd think the Biden administration would say, oh, you need assistance? Here comes the assistance. But if they were out to intentionally take action to hurt people, make them more controllable, controlling the food supply, disabling that is one of the elements, then it would make sense. They'd be like, oh, you need assistance? Well, we're not doing that because that will actually interfere with what we're trying to do. Now, again, I sound crazy. I'm not saying that's what they're trying to do. I'm just saying I wish we didn't live in a world where that's a valid question to be curious if that might be what they're trying to do. Then just another couple quick tidbits before we wrap up this video. Again, on the Daily Wire, this part's just fun. It's worth a shot. Rand Paul approves of Ohio governor posing as Zelensky to get federal assistance. I love seeing politicians actually call it like it is. You know, Rand Paul's playing off the joke of, well, Biden administration sends so much money to Ukraine. Maybe the Ohio governor should just dress up like the Ukrainian president Zelensky, and then he'll have all the assistance he needs. So that's just a good bit of fun. And lastly, this is also fun, also corrupt, but it's funny. You gotta laugh at the corruption. This is the New York Times claiming Ohio chemical fallout fears overblown by right-wing commentators. The New York Times claims. In the article, the New York Times is basically just claiming, oh, these right-wing commentators, they're exaggerating the severity of this train derailment, chemical disaster. They're just fear-mongering. You got to take a second and just laugh. The mainstream media who fear-mongers like it's their job, because it is in fact their job. They're not journalists, they're fear-mongers. They're funded by corporations that kind of like want to control people, and the only way to control people is through fear. So mainstream media, the New York Times, is accusing other people of overblowing things, fear-mongering. Hello? Have you seen what you've done over the past 3 years? Deliberately instilling fear into people, trying to get them to worry about something. So how did you overblow this disease? Getting them to worry about something that doesn't need to terrorize people? New York Times, I salute you. You are hypocrites, and it's hilarious. So where does the train disaster end? The people, the residents in East Palestine, where does this end up for them? Not to mention a lot of other people in Ohio. Is the Ohio River, it's a river. Guess what? Rivers flow. Whatever kind of chemicals are in the river, they get distributed downstream. When the chemical spill was there, they're like, I guess we should probably burn some of these chemicals to help contain the spill, prevent an explosion. So now you have airborne chemical residues. The authorities are trying to say, no, you might smell them, but that's just like, it's fine. It's fine. You might smell them, but nothing to worry about. Go back in your homes. So where does this all end? I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation out there, but one thing we do know today, and the moral of the story of this video, is the Biden administration rejects the Ohio governor's request for federal assistance. That, in my opinion, is brutal. It is corrupt. It is the administration absolutely unwilling to look out for the best interest of, guess who? The American people. Joe Biden, I do not approve. And of course, thoughts and prayers to everyone in East Palestine, Ohio, as well as everyone downstream, as well as the environment and the world at large that can be impacted to some degree by this. With that said, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, I need to de-stress. I'm a little frustrated, a little pissed off by this news, but nonetheless, it's the news. And on that note, if you're at all like me, seeing headlines like this, stories like this, and there's just day after day, there's stories born out of corruption. If you're at all like me, you're paying attention to what's going on, you're looking beneath what's going on, inevitably, you're going to get stressed. So I think it's important for freedom lovers to remind ourselves, one of the consequences of being awake is you see stressful stuff. And therefore, it's very important that we take care of ourselves at the individual level, make sure we're doing things to increase our happiness, not take everything too seriously. You might need to meditate. You might need to take magnesium supplements. You might need to make sure you're exercising and sleeping so that you don't just become a walking accumulation of this anxious stress. I give you that reminder because I need that reminder today. So with that said, my beautiful freedom loving friend, man, I'm talking like Fetterman today. Ugh. I appreciate you watching this video, and I will see you next time. And until then, stay free.